Under pressure, she delivers clutch serves, strong, precise, and far more effective than we've seen from her in previous matches. Alex keeps sending the ball back with depth and precision, forcing Noskova to hit one extra shot every time, and that's where the difference starts to show. Noskova's aggression begins to break down under pressure, while Eala's consistency remains rock solid.
Leylah Fernandez is worried, and she has every single reason to be. Because just days before the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix in Stuttgart, Germany, was set to begin, Alex Eala walked onto a practice court, faced Linda Noskova, the same Linda Noskova who humiliated her just weeks ago at Indian Wells, and she took her apart. Convincingly, dominantly, ruthlessly. No nerves, no hesitation, just clean, commanding tennis on the clay that sent a message ringing through every corner of the Stuttgart facility. And Leylah Fernandez, who is scheduled to face Eala in the very first round of this prestigious WTA 500 event, felt that message loud and clear. The Filipino is coming, and she is coming in the form of her life. Let's set the scene properly, because the context here is everything. The Stuttgart Open is one of the most stacked tournaments on the entire WTA calendar. World number 2, Elena Rybakina, is there. Coco Gauff, Iga Swiatek, and Jasmine Paolini. The who's who of women's tennis have all descended on Germany for this prestigious indoor clay event. And in the middle of all of that, Leylah Fernandez has been handed what looked like a manageable first-round draw on paper. Alex Eala, a player ranked roughly 20 places below her. On paper, Fernandez should be the clear favorite. She is more experienced on clay. She is ranked higher, and she has been around the big stages of the game long enough to know how to handle pressure. But here is the problem. The version of Alex Eala that Fernandez is going to face is not the version from a few months ago. It is not the version that is still finding her feet at the elite level. The Eala walking into Stuttgart right now is sharp, confident, battle-tested, and firing on all cylinders. And that final training match against Noskova? That was the clearest possible signal that something special is brewing.
Their first ever meeting in singles competition. This matchup carries added intrigue as Fernandez, who has Filipino roots, has established herself on the global stage, highlighted by a runner-up finish at the US Open.
Now, let's talk about the training match itself, and why it carries so much weight beyond just being a practice session. At Indian Wells 2026, Linda Noskova met Alex Eala in the 4th round, and Noskova was absolutely ruthless. She defeated Eala in 2 straight sets, 6-2, 6-0. That scoreline tells you everything. It was not a competitive loss. It was not a close match that could have gone either way in a different moment. Noskova shut Eala down completely, took away her rhythm, overwhelmed her with power and pace, and left the Filipino with almost no answers on that hard court. It was the kind of result that lingers. The kind that you remember when you go back to the practice court and put in the extra hours. Fast forward to Stuttgart. Same 2 players, new surface, indoor clay. And Alex Eala did not just win, she dominated. She turned the tables on Noskova in the most convincing fashion, and showed that the Indian Wells scoreline has already been filed away as motivation, not baggage. On the clay in Stuttgart, Eala was the one dictating the rallies. She was the one controlling the tempo. Her movement was fluid. Her ball striking was precise, and she never allowed Noskova to settle into the kind of rhythm that had been so damaging at Indian Wells. Yes, this was a training match. No ranking points, no official record. But in the world of professional tennis, how you perform in the days before a tournament tells everyone everything about your current level. And Eala's current level looks frighteningly good. She got her revenge on Noskova, and she got it in style. That psychological win coming right before the tournament begins is worth its weight in gold. But the Noskova training victory did not happen out of nowhere. It was the product of a preparation week that reads more like a dream than a practice schedule. Because in the days leading up to Stuttgart, Alex Eala was not just going through the motions on the practice court. She was going to war with 2 of the greatest players on the planet, and thriving. One day, she was out there with Coco Gauff, world number 3, reigning US Open champion, one of the most complete players on tour. The 2 of them hit together, and what struck those watching was not just the quality of tennis, it was the energy. The visible banter, the ease with which Eala carried herself alongside one of the biggest names in the game. Gauff was offering Eala advice on court, tactical guidance, court positioning, the kind of wisdom that only an elite player can pass on in those unscripted moments. And Eala did not look like a student in awe of her teacher. She looked like a peer. She received the advice, she worked with it, and she responded with a confidence that told you her mental state heading into this tournament is absolutely locked in. Then the very next day, Eala was on court with Iga Swiatek, the 4-time French Open champion, the undisputed queen of clay. If you want to prepare your game for the red stuff, there is quite simply no better sparring partner on the entire planet. Swiatek tests your movement, your ability to construct points, your defensive resilience, and your capacity to handle heavy top spin on a surface that punishes any weakness in your footwork. The fact that Eala held her own in those sessions, and then went out and demolished Noskova in the very next practice, is all the proof you need that the preparation has worked perfectly. Gauff one music day, Swiatek the next, Noskova taken apart after that. This is a player who has been building towards something all week long. And since we are talking about Coco Gauff, we cannot skip past what has already happened between these two players this season, because it adds yet another layer to just how dangerous Eala is right now. Earlier in 2026 at the Indian Wells Open, Eala and Gauff met in the round of 32, and Eala beat her. She took the first set convincingly at 6-2, and was leading in the second when Gauff was ultimately forced to retire. But make no mistake, Eala was in total control of that match. She was the better player on the day. She had neutralized everything Gauff was throwing at her, and was building toward what would have been one of the most stunning results of the entire season. The result stands. The win is hers. So when Coco Gauff is on the practice court in Stuttgart offering Alex Eala advice, and Eala is receiving it with a smile and a swagger, just remember that Eala has already beaten her this season. This is not a one-sided relationship of admiration anymore. This is a rivalry between two elite players who respect each other deeply and know exactly what the other is capable of. And that confidence that comes from knowing you can beat a top 3 player in the world, that is the kind of belief that carries you through the hard moments of a tournament. It is the kind of belief that makes you dangerous, which brings us all the way back to Leylah Fernandez, standing across the net from this version of Alex Eala in the first round of the Stuttgart Open. Fernandez is a brilliant competitor. She has the experience, the fighting spirit, and the clay court pedigree to make this a serious contest. Nobody should count her out. But she is about to face a player who just dismantled Linda Noskova in her final practice session, who spent the week sparring with Swiatek and Gauff, who defeated Coco Gauff in straight sets earlier this very season, and who is carrying a momentum into this tournament that is almost impossible to slow down. Leylah Fernandez is panicking, and if she is not, she absolutely should be. Because Alex Eala is not arriving in Stuttgart as a wild card hoping for a lucky result. She is arriving as a player in form, in confidence, and with something to prove. Fernandez has a storm coming her way, and the name of that storm is Alexandra Eala. Drop your predictions in the comments below. Can Eala beat Fernandez and go on a deep run in Stuttgart? Subscribe for full coverage of the clay season, and we will see you in the next one.